It's a pleasure to be here with you today, students, for Mr. Yates and myself to say thank you. We want to thank you for being such good students, for all you're doing now that you're in school. We know you're reading a lot, and that's important. Reading is one of the
I made a change with Bill too. After you come in and you look, then turn with your front and say, hey, come here. Okay, then they'll come out, you kids come out, and you say, let's go there. Okay, now you come. All right, now, the other day I worked on this, and you're going to be looking and going to do that, and then you change places, and so that. Now she's going to come through. She is going to come, so stay closer, stay close. No? Okay, one more. And turn, turn front. See, because we can't see your expression. Good. All right, okay, just a little more definite. Don't jump so much here and wait until you come into the middle. All right? That was very good, Brooke.
after you've gotten there.
You know, if I wanted to see that polka dance that you do just like this,
I wasn't sure so much whether I had a voice or not. Just to do it that way.
Arms above on the circle. Please let me take them. Right here. Arms up. Before going there, you just cut.
11-year-old Josh and 13-year-old Devry are having a pretty wonderful holiday. Despite the endless rehearsals and the aching feet, performing in the Nutcracker is a dream come true.
Ever since Devry was just 3, she came and said, I want to do this, I want to be a part of this. It's magic.
From the dancing bear to the real and yet so unreal dancing doll, from the unglamorous Mother Buffoon to the stately Snow Queen, the Nutcracker is magic. Devry has been performing since she was 3. She spent 3 years playing other Nutcracker roles until she was plucked from 900 aspiring dancers to play Clara. Joshua was fairly new to ballet before being chosen to play Clara's bratty brother Fritz, but he already knows what part of the ballet he likes best.
Breaking the Nutcracker. She gets this Nutcracker and she's bragging about it. And so I take it from her and hit it down on the stage and break it. And I just think it's fun.
In most other cities, Josh wouldn't be having so much fun. In fact, neither would the 70 or so children in the cast.
Any of the ballets in the United States and in Europe don't include children. Even in the Nutcracker, it's all adults.
Though the Nutcracker is a big part of their lives, the Farrens know they'll have to leave the land of the Sugar Plum Fairy someday. Josh wants to be a vet, and if Devry can't get work with a dance company, she'd like to follow in her father's footsteps.
I think I want to become a physical therapist like my dad. And I want to, maybe go with the companies and, if they get any injuries, help them.
Down the road, when Josh and Devry are no longer in the Nutcracker, there'll still be a little of the Nutcracker in them.
If we didn't have Nutcracker at Christmas, it wouldn't be the same for us. It's just Nutcracker, oh, it's Christmas time, you know.
Cindy Burns, KTVX for Nightcast.
Hands in your own lap and your mouths as quiet as possible and your feet together there. I'm going to turn the time over to Mrs. Cannon. She'll introduce the plays and I assume some of the people who will be participating. Let's give Mrs. Cannon a big hand.
I'd like to welcome all of you to our play today. As Mr. Spencer said, we're doing 2 plays. We are doing Cinderella, and it was written by Raymond Rounds, who was raised in Ogden. He is now an attorney in San Diego. And then we will be doing Rumpelstiltskin, and it was written by Don Hughes. Now, the thing that I've always done with this is put the verdict in an envelope. So I have 2 envelopes, and in one it says guilty, and in the other it says not guilty. And this way nobody's feelings get hurt as to, they like me better or whatever. So I will give them to the jury foreman, and then at the end of the play, the jury foreman will choose one of them and hand to the judge. I would also like to thank 3 of the 6th grade boys who have faithfully taken care of our sound equipment every day that we've practiced. And so I want to thank Joseph Stillwell and Jared Wynn and Doug Rogerson. Thanks, guys.
All right, this courtroom is now in session. The Honorable Margaret Moore is now presiding. You may be seated.
This is the lawsuit brought upon by the plaintiff, Her Royal Highness Cinderella, against the House of Tremaine for back wages. The question which must be resolved in this case is this. When daily manual tasks are performed by a family member, should wages for time spent be given to that family member? If the plaintiff and the defendant are ready, we will take testimony on the matter. The plaintiff must prove her case upon preponderance before any defense need be provided. Ms. Pinanza, call your first witness.
Your Honor, I call the Prince. Mr. Prince, will you please come to the stand and raise your right hand? Mr. Prince. Will you state your full name for the record, sir?
Hey, everyone knows me.
State your name for the record, please. Well, I never gave it much thought. Everybody just talks about me as though I'm not there, and they always just call me the Prince. Well, I'll ask my mom or dad when I get home to the castle, but, For now, you can just call me the Prince. Okay, the Prince. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Of course I do. Why do you ask a question like that? I'm going to be king someday, you know? Exactly, the king. Despite that fact, do you promise to tell the truth? Well, yeah, sure.
For the record, where do you live, the Prince?
Well, like I said, I live in a castle with Mommy and Daddy. Since I got married, Dad said I could stick around and see how the kingdom's run. It's kind of boring since the ball ended and all that excitement about the glass slipper and all. I never understood how Cinderella could dance in those hard glass slippers. I tell you, she and I...
To the point, the Prince. Do you know the plaintiff in this case?
Well, don't get huffy, sure. Cinderella's my wife, and I had to go through plenty to get her, too. The Duke searched the whole kingdom all night with that silly shoe in his hand, and...
Well, now, the Prince. We're more interested in the events that happened before you were married. Could you describe for the jury Cinderella's life before she ended up with you?
It was really horrible. She was more like a servant than a family member. She had to start the fires in the morning, wake up the family, cook the breakfast, and clean up the fireplace. She even got black soot on her clothes. Yuck! Disgusting. After the ball, I even found out that her name came from the soot in
The Prince. Did Cinderella get any money for her efforts?
Not that I know of. When I finally found her after our one night of dancing, she seemed to lost her beautiful coach, her coachman, and even her dress. She had nothing but soot-covered clothes and a single glass slipper. I was almost ready to...
Thank you, the Prince. Your witness, Mr. Preservator.
Now let me get this straight, the Prince. You're telling us that you personally know about the plaintiff's life before your marriage?
I guess I know about as much as anyone else she was living in.
But the fact is that you never personally witnessed anything about the plaintiff's life before your marriage. Did you?
Well, no, but...
You never saw her in soot-covered clothes?
No.
You've never seen her scrub a floor or wash a dish?
No, we have other people that do that stuff.
And the only time you saw Cinderella before your marriage, she was wearing a beautifully expensive gown and had a spectacular coach complete with coachman. Is that right?
Yes.
Basically, all your knowledge of Cinderella's previous life comes from discussions with your wife, doesn't it?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move to strike all the Prince's testimony thus far as hearsay evidence.
I agree. This is hearsay. The jury will disregard all the previous testimony.
By the way, the Prince, your royal household pays its servants only room and board for themselves and their families. Isn't that right?
I object, Your Honor. What does this have to do with the case? The amount paid by the king and queen to their servants is not relevant to any money allegedly owed to my client. Let's save the answer to that question until we have a witness who may have personal knowledge about this case. I'll withhold ruling on the objection as to the question, but sustain the objection as to this witness. Any other questions?
No, Your Honor.
You may step down, the Prince. Let's get to the heart of this case. I'd like to call Her Royal Highness Princess Cinderella.
Princess Cinderella, will you please come to the stand? Raise your right hand. State your name for the record.
My name is Princess Cinderella. I'll just call you Cindy for now, if that's okay with you, because I know how much you dislike the name Cinderella. What was your early childhood like, Cindy? It was very nice when my mother was alive. After she died, my father must have felt I needed a female role model, so he married my rotten, wicked stepmother. Let's have order in this court.
I object to that description of my client.
It's Cinderella's testimony. There will be time for another point of view. Objection overruled. Continue, counsel. Go ahead, Cindy. As I was saying, things changed when my father married my mean stepmother. She always hated me, but couldn't do anything about it while Daddy was alive. Then Father died and left me all alone in that house, that is, my stepmother and those ugly stepsisters. I won't have that kind of outburst in my courtroom. Now cut it out, all of you.
Your Honor.
I said it's her testimony, Mr. Preservator, wrong or right. Go on, Mrs. Prince. Well, I was still a minor child when my father passed on, my cruel stepmother gained control of the money, she immediately began selling out the state for her and her stepsisters clothes and music lessons. They tried to look pretty and screeched out songs. It was very hard for my hands and my ears. Cindy, how did you get your name? I cooked in the fireplace and sat in the soot and ashes, the cinders, then cleaned the fireplace. Several nights I fell asleep right there from sheer tiredness, so my nasty stepfamily began calling me after the cinders, Cinderella.
What other work were you required to do?
I had to do all the work. I cleaned the floors, scrubbed the walls, washed the dishes. I had to get up very early and went to bed long after the rest of the family went to sleep. I did this month after month.
How were you treated during this time?
They treated me like dirt. They called me other bad names and made fun of me all the time. They said I was ugly and stupid. Can you imagine that, looking at them? They even tried to prevent me from going to the Prince's Royal Ball, the social event of the season, by making me work all day. Made sure I had no dress to wear. But I managed to get there, in spite of their dishonest plan.
How much money did you make for all this work, and wages, I mean?
They gave me nothing. Zilch, zero, nada. The big goose egg, the waste of my father's estate, made me work like a slave for years. And I have nothing in the bank to show for it. I feel that I deserve at least some money for all that work. I should be paid adequate wages for my labor and years of service.
You're a witness, Preservator.
You say you were a family member then, Mrs. Prince?
Yes.
And what you were doing were simply household chores, is that correct? Required in any home?
Yes.
Do you know of anyone in any family who gets paid for doing housework?
Some get allowances.
But you've never heard of any family members getting paid some sort of hourly wage for the work they do around the house, have you?
Well, no, but
And your father or mother, before they died, never paid you for work around the house?
No.
Your stepmothers, your stepsisters, or even your mother and father were never paid for the work they did around the house, were they?
No.
You were never physically abused by your stepmother, Lady Tremaine, were you?
No.
She never hit you or physically forced you to do the work, did she?
No, it was more subtle than that.
In fact, she just suggested that you do some of the work. And you did it because you are such a clean, nice person and you didn't want to cause trouble.
I wouldn't put it exactly like that.
You received food, clothing, and shelter throughout your life, didn't you?
Yes, but there's more to life.
I see. Do you pay your servants now?
I object again, Your Honor. The amount paid by the royal household to their servants is not relevant to any money owed to my client.
Allegedly owed to your client, Counselor. I'm going to let this witness answer the question on normal wage amounts for this type of work. Go ahead. We don't pay our servants with money in the castle. They are given a parcel of land to farm outside the castle walls after they have finished the king's work. The Tremaines have nothing left in the way of land.
Isn't it a fact that you, Cinderella, talked to a ghost that you call Fairy Godmother?
Why, of course I do. Doesn't everyone?
Objection, objection.
No more questions.
Anything else, Miss Bonanza?
No, Your Honor.
You may step down. I think we have heard enough case to hear from the defendant. Call your witness, Mr. Preservator.
I call Lady Tremaine to the stand.
Lady Tremaine, please come to the stand. Raise your right hand. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You've heard the case presented. How do you describe what the prince's wife did for you in the way of housework?
Cinderella did nothing for me personally. Cinderella was a member of the household and was responsible for household chores. One of her jobs was to clean the fireplace. I agree it's a filthy duty, but there are people all over the kingdom who do it within their house, and they don't get paid. I don't see that Cinderella wants from us now. She has all the money in the world.
I object. The extent of Cinderella's present wealth is not an issue here. I move to strike that last statement from the record as irrelevant.
So ordered. The jury will disregard that last statement. Proceed, Mr. Preservator.
How much money did you pay your other two daughters?
I didn't pay them anything. We all lived off the money we received from my dear departed husband. We ate well and had a home, something unusual in this kingdom.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Your witness, Miss Bonanza. Lady Tremaine, you're trying to tell us that Cinderella merely did a little housework with the other sisters?
She may have done a little more housework than the others. It isn't very easy to decide which job is more difficult than another.
Come now, Widow Tremaine. The bottom of the line is that you and these lovely stepsisters never did anything to help poor Cindy clean the house. Isn't that right?
Well, I wouldn't put it that way.
You wouldn't, would you? Cindy even served you and his repulsive stepsister breakfast in bed, didn't she? I will not allow another outburst like that. Mr. Preservator, restrain your clients or I'll have them thrown out of here. Miss Bonanza, your questions are not testimony. You will refrain from name calling from now on. Do I make myself clear? Just answer the question, Lady Tremaine.
What was the question, Your Honor?
I asked if you were served breakfast in bed by Cinderella.
Yes, that was one of her jobs.
And you spent a great deal of money on Anastasia and Drusilla while not expecting them to do anything around the house?
Well, it wasn't quite like that.
In fact, you spent a whole inheritance on clothes, jewelry, and music lessons for your own daughters. Isn't that right?
I wouldn't say all of it.
And Lady Tremaine, you never once bought a dress, jewelry, or makeup for Cinderella, did you, in spite of all the work she did for you?
No.
Lady Tremaine, Cinderella was nothing more than an unpaid servant, wasn't she?
No, it wasn't like that, no.
That's all, Your Witness Preservatory. You may step down.
I now call Anastasia Tremaine. Anastasia Tremaine, please come to the stand. Raise your right hand. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
How do you feel about your stepsister?
Oh, I love her. I can't imagine why she is suing us now. She got the prince. She got the money. She got the fairy godmother. She got all the kingdom. It all should have been mine, of course, because I'm prettier and sing better. Would you like to hear me sing? The only reason she got the prince because she named him first at the ball. He was really interested in me.
Did you ever get paid for the work you did around the house?
Well, I remember once I had to pick up one of my shoes because Cinderella was on the ladder washing the window. Mama didn't give me any money for it, but she told me what a wonderful girl I am and bought me some hanging earrings. Aren't they just keen?
Right. That's all I have for this witness.
I have no reason to cross-examine this witness. You may step down.
I now call Drusilla Tremaine. Raise your right hand. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Drusilla, how did you treat Cinderella after her father died?
Well, we always treated her like a queen, but now, of course, she will be the queen, so we'll treat her even better. We tried to make her feel wanted and important by giving her things to do. Once, I even let her sit down on my bed after she served me a cup of tea. I told her she was beautiful all through that black silk. She didn't seem grateful, though.
What do you mean she didn't seem grateful?
Well, she looked at her dirty dress, then up at me. She left in a snit. Now she has all the cash in the kingdom, and she's trying to get more from us. I just can't figure her out. I call this whole thing revenge. Objection. It is not up to this witness to explain a motive for bringing this suit. Sustained.
That's all I have for this witness, Your Honor.
Do you wish to cross-examine the witness, Miss Bonanza?
No, Your Honor.
You may step down. If there are no other witnesses, we will hear the final arguments. This is a clear-cut case of work without wages. Testimony has shown that Cinderella has worked her pretty little fingers to the bones for these wretched creatures for nothing. Nobody should be able to force labor out of somebody without paying a reasonable amount of money. I ask that you find for Cinderella and make right which has been wrong for so many years.
This is a clear-cut case. All right, a clear-cut case of normal housework by a member of a family. People are not given money for the work they do around the house. No one I have ever met was paid as a child for the cleaning and sweeping required in a normal home. Mothers and fathers do it because it must be done, and they wish to teach their children to be helpful, not because anyone will pay them. Payment for such services would simply be taking money from one member of the family and giving it to another member. We think that you should find this case in favor of the defendants as other members of the same household.
You have heard all the evidence in this case and the final arguments. It'll now be up to you to decide. The question is not whether we like any of these witnesses or not. The question is not whether the plaintiff needs the money now or not. If you decide that the prince's wife was just a family member doing household chores and you see the benefit of shelter, then you must find for the defendants. If you decide that she was solely considered as a housekeeper, servant, and deserves wages, then you must find for the plaintiff. The jury may retire. Has the jury reached a verdict?
Yes, Your Honor, we have. Rumpelstiltskin versus the Queen. The plaintiff Rumpelstiltskin charges the Queen breached the promise to give her oldest child to the plaintiff if he had spent strong in gold.
You may call your first witness.
This is a clear case of breach of contract. We call the plaintiff Rumpelstiltskin.
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do. State your name.
Stiltskin.
We can't hear you.
Rumpelstiltskin, and it is not very often that you hear me say that.
How did you meet the Queen?
As a widow does, I was roaming near the castle and I heard this girl bawling her eyes out. I asked her what was wrong, and she blubbered.
I'd give anything if I could turn this straw into gold.
I said I was spinning into gold for her. This happened on 3 different occasions. I received payment the first 2 times, first a ring, then a necklace. The 3rd time she had nothing else to give me. Well, I don't spin straw into gold for nothing, so we agreed that she would give me her firstborn child.
Did you spin the straw into gold?
Yes.
Did she give you the child?
No.
Did she become the Queen because of your spinning the straw into gold?
Yes.
I have no further questions of this witness.
Isn't it true that you allowed the Queen an escape clause?
Well, yes. I agreed that
guessed my name, I would not take her child. But she didn't guess my name. She cheated. She had some woodsman spy on my privacy. A skid clause was for her to guess my name, not for her spy on me.
What about this poor child? What kind of a life would a child have with a widow? You're mean, you're ugly, and you don't like children.
Objection. Counsel's arguing with the witness.
It may be stated in a confrontive manner that it is a question.
What I do with the child is nobody's business. A deal is a deal on the queen.
No other questions.
You may step down.
I would like to call the woodsman as my next witness.
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
What do you do for a living?
I am a woodsman in the king's employ.
Were you asked to spy on Rumpelstiltskin?
Not exactly spy. I was promised a reward if I could find out his name, which I did when I chanced upon him when he was dancing around a fire in the deep woods, singing his name.
It was clear to you that the plaintiff thought he had great privacy, and you never announced your presence?
That is true.
You may step down.
Your Honor, I would next like to call to stand Miss I. Ann Caring.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name and occupation for the court.
My name is Mrs. I.M. Caring. I am a social worker.
Have you made a thorough investigation of both households for the purpose of determining suitability for raising a child?
Yes, I have.
And what are the results of those studies?
Well, frankly, I was a bit surprised with the results. The suitability of the king-queen as parents is, of course, without question. But what surprised me was the fine environment that Mr. Stilskin can also provide. I found his tree to be a clean and warm home. There could be definite advantages to a child being raised in that lovely environment, coupled with magical protection that Mr. Stilskin is able to provide. I feel both the king, queen, and Mr. Stilskin could provide the child with a good home.
I have no further questions of this witness.
Now, Miss Karen, you really mean to tell this court that a creature of the forest, an ugly little man with no friends, be as good as parent as these two fine people, the natural parents of the child?
Well, I certainly found no reason why he couldn't be. Studies show that wealth and position don't always indicate the ability to be a good parent.
What job did you have before you became a social worker?
Objection, Your Honor. This has no relevance to the case in point.
Your Honor, I contend that this woman's former employment does have bearing.
Very well, I will allow her to answer. Well, I was advisor to the king. At least I was until she came along. Her were spinning strong to gold. But that makes no difference in this case. Mr. Stilskin would still be a good parent, in my opinion.
I have no further questions.
You may step down.
Your Honor, we rest. I call the Queen as our first witness.
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do. Will you state your name for the record?
I am Her Majesty the Queen.
You have heard the testimony of Mr. Stilskin. Is his statement of how you first met accurate?
Certainly not. I was a poor girl in a bad situation. I knew the king only had interest in me if I could spin the straw to gold. And what's more, I knew if I did not, both I and my family would suffer severe penalties. I paid him my most valuable possessions to perform the wonder. I was a desperate woman. I was under great duress. At the time I made the arrangement, I never knew I would have children. He took advantage of my situation.
This little girl that is your oldest child, is she happy in your home?
Yes. I could not imagine her living with a wood elf.
I have no further questions. Your witness?
Look, isn't it true that you have done anything to get that ring of straw into gold?
And isn't it also true that any king who demands such a prospective wife must be a real tyrant?
No, certainly not. Being queen requires a special ability to use one's wits, and a king's test is very suited to that requirement.
But everything else aside, you did promise to give the child to Mr. Stiltskin.
Yes, but he gave me a way out if I could guess his name, and I did.
But you used the woodsman to cheat, isn't that true?
There are no rules, said I to think up my guesses myself.
No other questions.
I would like to call at this time His Royal Majesty the King to the stand.
You may step down.
Kings don't need to be sworn in. Will you state your name?
I am Reginald Wenceslaus, the 43rd, the King of the realm.
You are the father of the child in question?
Yes.
Did you ever give your consent to your wife to make a deal to give away your child?
No.
Are you willing now to let your child go?
No.
Nothing further. Your witness?
Look, let us state the facts straight for this court. You really do have a thing about gold, don't you?
Well, I do like it.
In fact, all you wanted in his wife was someone who could change straw, which you had a lot of, into gold, which you had little of.
Well, that certainly was a consideration.
Oh, get off it, your high and mightiness. If she hadn't performed, you would have wiped her and her whole family out.
Well, I didn't want to lose my child.
But you have kept up the no further questions.
You may step down. The attorneys may now argue their cases.
This is a clear case of broken promise. The queen promised her child and then looked for a way out. She got the gold and now she wants the child too. Rumpelstiltskin, in an effort to be more than fair, gave her a way out. But she chose to cheat. She used her newfound power as queen to send out spies and invade his privacy. I urge you to find in favor of employment.
This case isn't about promises. It is about an ugly little wood elf trying to get a little girl. It would be wrong to let him take advantage of a poor girl's desperate situation. The queen only agreed under great duress, and in any event she guessed his name. There was no rule that said she couldn't have help. Let the little girl grow up in the castle as a princess of the realm.
You have now heard the evidence. The choice is yours as a jury to find in favor of Rumpelstiltskin and give him the child, or to find in favor of the queen and let her keep her daughter. The jury may retire. Has the jury reached a verdict?
Yes, we have, Your Honor.
We find in favor of Rumpelstiltskin. This case dismissed.